If the word witch makes you feel full of power and excitement, if you love personal development but loathe boring love and light conversation, if a sexy combo of witchery and inner work piques your interest, you're in the right place. Welcome home, Magic Maker, and welcome to Expedition to Soul, the podcast brought to you by the Sisters Enchanted. Hello, everybody. Welcome in for today's coffee chat. We are here to talk about the vision for the week ahead. In my coffee chats, these weekly coffee chats, it is my hope that I motivate you to light a fire under your life, that I come through, give you the little gentle push, the swift kick that you need to live the life that you want to be living, to remember you were born magic, all of those things. And yeah, that's what we're going to do here today. So good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It is a hot one here in Connecticut. And I know some of y'all live in places, though, like Texas. I can't even imagine. When it hits 90 degrees here, I want to crawl in a cave and wait for autumn or winter. Anything but that. So big, I don't know, cooling vibes to you on this day here. And yeah, all right. Well, let's get right into this coffee chat then. We are talking here today about creating a life, living a life that you want to be living. And does your calendar reflect the life that you want to be living? Does your calendar reflect that? Now, here at the Sisters Enchanted, you know that we talk about tarot, we talk about crystals and meditation and mythology and astrology and the moon and chakras, all of these really amazing, beautiful, lovely metaphysical tools, these spiritual tools. We teach all of that. We bring it all together here. And these Sunday coffee chats, I think, serve as a wonderful reminder that your life is not separate from these tools that you love. Your life is not separate from like the same reverence and the desire you have to learn tarot, how you store your tarot cards, how you treat them, right? That we want to treat our life the same way. Your life is also a tool. It is another tool that you can use to amplify your energy, to create big magical things in your life. And it's really easy for us, though, to think that like we need the tools in order to open something up within us to have what we desire to have, like for manifestation or conscious creation. But you are the biggest tool in your tool belt. You're the most powerful tool in your tool belt. And looking at how you spend your time, how you're designing your week ahead is probably the most powerful act that you can do for conscious creation, for manifestation, all of that good stuff. So when you look at your calendar, the first thing I ask you to do in a Sunday coffee chat is to pull out your calendar of choice. This can be a planner, a digital planner, whatever your thing is, but pull that out. Look at the week ahead. Now, you probably have some commitments, time commitments. This could be work. It could be appointments. Like, what are the commitments on your calendar for this next week? We look at those. They all go on the calendar. And then from there, we look at the blank space and decide how we're going to fill in that blank space. Now, when you look at your calendar for this week, I want you to ask yourself the question, does this calendar reflect the life that you want to be living? So looking at the calendar, I'm looking at mine right now. I have my Google Calendar pulled up. Does my calendar reflect the life that I want to be living? Yes or no? Look at yours and ask yourself that question. And if the answer is no, it's time to make some changes. If the answer is yes, then that's amazing. And we can use that energy, that optimism, that possibility to enhance other areas of our lives. When you build a crystal grid, you choose a crystal, you choose the crystals you want to use with great intention. Like, what colors do you want to use for the purpose that you're working on? We are almost halfway through summer, and I don't know what's today's date. Actually, we're not almost halfway through summer. I'm skipping ahead in my brain. Around August, I think it's August 6th is the actual midpoint between summer and fall this year. So when we look at that and the seasonal festival that comes with it, we look at the colors of yellow and orange and grain associations, fire associations. So if we were doing work for that festival, we would pick associations for the festival, right? Yellows, oranges, greens, fires. So now we look at your life for the week ahead. The things you put on your calendar are essentially the representations of what it is that you're honoring, the representations of what it is that you want to be creating. So, in the same way that we would pick crystals, or we pick pieces for a sacred space, maybe a sacred altar space, or something that you put out to celebrate a festival, or anything at all, right? How you choose those meaningfully. You want to look at your calendar and choose what goes on your calendar meaningfully as well. So if each space on your calendar for the week ahead is basically a space that we can imagine as like a crystal grid placement, what are you placing in those spaces? Because that's the energy that you're aligning to. And so if you have a vision for your life, or a way that you want to feel, or something that you desire to be doing, something you'd love to shift in your life, look at your calendar and where can you start to place those bits in there, and treat your calendar, treat your time, treat your life with the same reverence that you would another metaphysical tool, a tarot spread or a crystal grid, right? Somehow along the way, we love to put our power into these tools like tarot, like crystals. We love making the grids. We love setting up the candles. We love doing the tarot spread. But then we disconnect from that when it comes to our actual lives and what we're choosing to put into our lives. So looking at your life as this big, beautiful, sacred space. We hosted a conversation this week with our small group mastermind and talked about identity a little bit. And you can also consider that as you look at your calendar for the week ahead. What's the identity you want to be embodying this week? What energy do you want to represent? How do you want to move through the week? I love to use tarot actually for this question and look through the cards and pick one that shows the image of a character, a figure, a person that really seems to speak to the way I want to feel. For me, that's often like the Queen of Wands or the Queen of Swords or the King of Wands or the King of Swords, the King of Pentacles. Sometimes like the Nine of Cups is a great one. And you can use that tool to sort of say, well, what's the energy I want to embody for the week ahead? And how do I put things on my calendar for this week? How do I cast the vision so that I can feel the way I want to feel, have the identity I want to have this week, and create this life that I want to be living? So your task right now, pull out your calendar and think of all of these spaces on your calendar, just like you would a tarot spread or a crystal grid. What is it that you are placing on there with intention to cast the vision for the life that you want to be living, to be the energy you want to be embodying in your day-to-day life? Now, another way to go about this when you're sort of casting the vision and thinking about creating a life and putting things on your calendar that represent the life you want to be living is to do a little bit of visioning work. So vision with a V, Vision. I know sometimes my V's and my B's are not clear, but do a little bit of visioning work for the week ahead, and ask, or for any time really, what would your ideal, perfect, like most meaningful day look like for you? And put yourself into that day. What do you do when you wake up? What does your body look like? What clothes do you put on? What table do you sit down sit down to? You sit down to a table, right? Anyway, where do you sit down first thing in the morning? What does your coffee cup or your tea cup look like? What does the environment look like outside your door? Do a little bit of visioning work. And then from that vision, see what is accessible to you right now that you can put on your calendar. So for me, in my ideal day vision, I can step outside and I can like just be outside first thing in the morning. Now, that's actually not something I often do, but it's curious because I can do that. I have a backyard, I have a deck, I've got a place to sit. I can go outside first thing in the morning and get some like first watch the sunrise, get that cool, brisk morning air in the summer. I can do that, but I don't. So it's interesting that that is, if you ask me, like, what is an ideal vision for you? I would say that that's the first thing I do. So then when I look at my life, though, and how I'm living my life, I can simply say, like, why am I not doing that? If it's part of my vision, why don't I do it? What do I need to do to remind myself that I want to do it? What little anchors, thought anchors, and reminders do I have to put in place to cue myself to go do it, because it's not a habit? So think about that. What does your ideal day look like? And, we all live lives and we have commitments and things we just have to do, even if we don't want to do them. So you may not be able to just like go doing the thing that comes to mind for you right away. But where can you start to put little bits of that vision into your life right now? Where can you start to harness some of that? Now, as I talk this out for myself and this idea, like I very clearly would see in my vision that I go outside first thing. And why don't I? And I tend to get up and I work. I work for like at least 90 minutes first thing every morning, starting somewhere between 4:30 and 5:30 in the morning. And I get like 90 minutes of head down on my computer typing sort of work done. So I would want to ask myself then, well, if my vision is to go outside, but I also do the work first thing in the morning so that I have free time later in the day and I don't have to work later in the day. And I'm not tied up at my desk till all hours of the day, then what is the real vision here? So I do like to get work done. And maybe it's that I just take 5 minutes to go outside. Maybe that's a more clear vision, right? So we can also walk through just this whole process of, what do we want life to look like? What's the reality of life? So the reality of my life, you're watching me do this in real time, in real time here. I would love to go outside first thing in the morning, but I don't. Why don't I? Because I work like 90 minutes every morning before anybody else is awake. Well, I don't want to stop doing that, because that would mean that I'd have to sacrifice other time later in the day. And I don't like to work past like 2 p.m. because my brain shuts off. So I definitely need to work in the morning. So I can align this vision. So I just go outside, have my first cups of coffee, and just think and listen to the birds for like 5 minutes. And then I can still come in and get back to what it is that I was going to do to begin with. And then I can do both. I can hold the space for the life I want to be living later in the day and go outside first thing in the morning. And so I was able to reconcile my commitments, the things I have to do, with the thing that I want to be doing. So look at your calendar again. Does it reflect the life you want to be living? Now, some of you here, I know, have jobs you don't want to have. You have commutes you don't want to have. You have commitments, responsibilities you don't want to have. And just like with any other metaphysical tool that we would use, a crystal grid or a tarot spread or a meditation or anything that we'd work with our chakras, we have choices we can make and little steps we can start taking to create more of what we want. So what does it look like to live the life that you're living now and bring a little bit more of what you desire into your life? How can you get creative? How can you think in a more expansive way and find pockets of time to put the things you want to be doing into your life while you are still doing the things you have to be doing? Because we all have that stuff, the stuff we just have to do. And so how can you get creative with your energy, creative with the way that you do things now, to make space for the way you want to be living? When we live lives and we take actions every day that feel really good, when we feel good, our whole life feels like it gets better. When we feel good, everything else feels more optimistic and possible and like there are options for us. But when we feel bad all the time, life doesn't feel that way. So finding these moments to bring some of what you want into your life every week is so, so, so critical. So look at your calendar for this week ahead. Does it reflect the life you want to be living? Does it reflect the identity that you want to hold this week? Does it match who, the energy you want to embody, how you want to walk through the world? How can you take some power back over your time? If we're going to ride this analogy here, this metaphor rather, of your this metaphor of your calendar being like a crystal grid, the different pieces that you're putting on it and treating it like a sacred space for yourself. What are you adding to that sacred space? What are the activities you're adding to the sacred space? What are the foods that you're adding to the sacred space? What are the clothing items you're adding to the sacred space? See how we can take this thing that we do every day, which is just get up and live life. Every day we just get up and we just live life. But what if you take your life and you think of it like one giant sacred space, one big crystal grid that you are putting pieces onto and you are adding to, and then you consciously add to that grid. You consciously add to that sacred space. What if you take time today and you think of that, your life as a sacred space, your life as the grid? What are you putting on it? Why does it matter? And what needs to go? What needs to go from it? And then move from there. So treating your life as the sacred space instead of looking for the tools to make your life feel more sacred. All right, I'm going to pause here. Let me just mark down the time. I'm going to pause and go back through the comments. Y'all might notice that we put these on the podcast. So because of that, I try not to look at the comments anymore when I'm talking. I mean, I look at them, but I try not to speak to them until later. So I'll mark down so that we can, any random thinking I do while I read through comments, we can cut out on the recording for the podcast. Let's see here. Let me scroll back up. I saw, Sharon, that you were asking about reaching out for business advice. Sharon, you can post it in the Enchanted Journey group, and I would love to take a peek for you at the question you're chewing on over there. Let's see here. See some hot weather for y'all. Sharon's been intentional with how you use your free time this summer. Summer always busy work season, so I make sure I place time for me to have fun, relax, and connect. Yes, I love that. Definitely prioritize that relaxing time. Lorraine loves the analogy of week as a crystal grid. Yes. I don't know what it is about, like as I look even at my tarot decks and all my witch things, how to make this time to put our crystals out at the full moon and charge them, right? And then we will put our tarot decks in these special little bags, and we might say who can and can't touch them, and we like just take care of all of our stuff. But we don't treat ourselves, our lives, our time, our bank accounts, our food with that same sacred like touch and that same holding the space in this beautiful way. And it's interesting how quick we are to give our power and our kind of that protection energy to these items that I love too. Don't get me wrong. Like I love my items. Don't touch my items. But how we will put all of this into it, but we don't treat ourselves with that same powerful protection sort of energy. We aren't looking for opportunities like we would charge our crystals to charge ourselves. We will put ourselves in the back burner all day long and not charge ourselves, or we won't create do the energy clearing for ourselves, but we'll clear the energy from a tarot deck before we use it. And it's just so interesting to me how we place all of this onto an external tool, but we don't place it on ourselves. And when we look at our lives and then we find these bits that don't feel so great, or we wish we could change, or we find that we're just too exhausted to do things. What if you just take a minute and treat your calendar, treat yourself the same way that you would treat these other tools? I think it can make, I know in my life, it makes all the difference. Let's see here. Renee is outside right now. I love working outside, but it's just so hot out. Margot, I've invited my best friend to stay with us a few days leading up to my daughter's 12th birthday this Saturday. Oh, Margot, how did my daughter will be 10 on Saturday. That's wild. Margot and I have the same birth chart set up on our houses and our daughters share a birthday, Margot. That is interesting. We'll have to meet in person one of these days. My kid will be 10. So this week for me, there's a lot happening because she's 10, and then we leave for a trip Tuesday. We come home the next Tuesday, and then we leave that weekend for another road trip. So a lot happening. And this week for me, there's a lot of reflection, because those of you who know my story, my first daughter's birth, I've got a daughter and a son. My daughter's birth story is very traumatic. So the fact that we're both alive and like we were well shortly after is a total miracle. And I was let go from my job 2 months before she was born. And so these last 10 years of self-employment and being a mom have just been such a wild ride. So for me this week, I'm doing a lot of like thinking, not thinking, just I guess basking in the privilege that it is to live the life that I've been able to live in the last 10 years, and really reflecting a lot on the intention that has gone into the last 10 years to create this life. And it's just wild. Like I woke up today thinking about it and I just can't, like just how things turn out, it's just wild. So I'll have I'm sure a lot of moments of just deep thought this week, deep thought. And Margot's got mosquitoes. Yeah. And fireflies, bats. Sounds like my backyard, Margot. Christy bought a sunbed. Loves sitting outside now. Doing it in the morning sounds very doable. Love that for you, Christy. Get outside. Get outside. Let's see here. And Michelle, I'm sorry you lost sound. Christine, Katz and I go out on the balcony in the morning before it gets really hot, take out my breakfast, read, admire the mountains. Oh, I love that. That thought of admiring the mountains. I was just thinking that about nature this weekend. I was driving through Vermont and looking at the trees and the mountains and just how amazing it is that we get to share this space with such enormous, like growing beings. When we think that mountains are still growing and trees are always growing, and here we are, these humans with our very human problems just amongst it all. And I was awestruck by just the experience of life. So Christine, I love that you're taking time for that. Erin's working toward North Star intention. So good. Love it. Carla wants to live in alignment with the lunar cycle and astrology. So I've added the moon phases, the signs the moon passes through every few days to your Google Calendar. I love that. Such an easy little thing to add to your calendar for sure. Patty's going on vacation. Christine has a helper coming to help get apartment in order before I leave to take my cats to a friend's. Headed to Albuquerque to see my newest grandbaby. Congratulations. That sounds like a great time. And I love that you're bringing somebody in to help with that. Susan took a day off for me yesterday amidst work, launching a new podcast, dealing with ongoing parental family issues, to kayak along a river for an hour. So good. Always take time. Husband and I connected over dinner in a way we haven't in a long time. It's so important. I think we can fill our weeks, just fill our time with all of these things we have to do, like these to-do list items. And I find that when you pull back and you make space, for me anyway, I find that a good deal of the things that I thought I had to do, I probably didn't actually have to do. And things that I had really been hyping up in my mind as big jobs that were going to take a long time and be really hard, when I can make space and just let my soul relax and let my whole body just relax, I remember that some of these things that feel really daunting and hard are actually only going to take 3 minutes and are not that hard. And a good part of my to-do list doesn't actually have to be done in the end. So making that space and getting out of the muck, I think, is so important. So Susan, I'm glad you did that. Lynn's recently retired. Try to get out and hike in the morning. Yes, carry a magic bag with me. Hard for me to sit still after working hard for the last 13 years. I bet, Lynn. And I love that you carry your bag with you. Let's see here. Oh, Catherine's asking if we still do a Salem trip in the fall. We are not this year. We did an event in the spring this year, and we aren't doing another event this year. So soon we'll be talking about 2025 though. We've got Team TSC has had one team member on vacation after another all summer. So we're all running sideways by each other. Got to get everybody, get the gang back, and we will be plotting the course for the next year. and then we'll let you know. And Catherine, I think you just joined us in Holistic Witchery. So welcome, friend. Jamie's preparing for 10 on the 27th. Yes, I know. So wild. Happy birthday to your little one there, Jamie. Christy, very helpful for me to start integrating new practices 5 minutes at a time. Yes. Yes. Quality, not quantity, Christy. Let's see here. And Renee says we're in awe of the mountains on our ice cream ride the other day. Yes, Renee. Yes, Renee's up in New Hampshire, and another community member told me about an ice cream spot that I told Renee about, and we're spreading the New Hampshire ice cream love. All right. And Deb's sharing, I need to do things intentionally. My time just floats by and then it's gone. Yes, intentional time usage. It's our number one value here at the Sisters Enchanted is to live with time intentionality and to be time intentional in our work. It is our number one value, and the thing we come back to again and again and again is being time intentional. All right, so let's get back and start to wrap it up here for us so that you all, speaking of time intentional, can move on with your beautiful day. But I really want you to consider this, your week ahead. For planning for the week ahead, you look at the things that you have to do. You have to go to your appointments. If you have a job, you have to go to work. Like the stuff you have to do, it's time bound. That goes on the calendar first. From there, start to put in everything else. Leave yourself some white space if you can. If you don't know what to put on there, make a list of the things that you would love to be doing. If you have lots of free time, do that the ideal day vision exercise. What does your ideal day look like? And start to build yourself sort of a rhythm to your week. Build yourself, you fill in your week just like you would a crystal grid. You put items on a crystal grid or on a tarot spread, or you cast runes or whatever you do it with intention. You pick the things on purpose and you put them down with a focused energy. Do the same thing for your calendar, please and thank you. Put things on there with reverence, with intention, and consider what you're doing with your energy to create the life that you want to be living. And if you find yourself full of stuff you don't want to be doing, all that is information. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean you did anything bad. And it doesn't mean that you can't get out of it. It's information to help you see which crystal needs to be removed and replaced with something else. And how are you going to do it? What is the first step? What action might you take to begin to remove one thing and place a new thing on there that's more in alignment with where you want to be going? And look at everything you're doing with your life as this piece that you're adding in. If you are, whatever it is you want to do, consume, put in your mind, put in your body, put on your body, put in your living space. This is all, if it's all one big, beautiful, sacred space, what are you adding to the sacred space? And what has to go because it no longer feels sacred and fulfilling anymore, and you want to make space for something else? And really start to consider looking at your life in that way. And I promise you, you are going to find great change right around the corner for you. And trust yourself, because you do know the way forward always. You always know the way forward. Speaking of the way forward, we are hosting a tarot event for students in our, this is news. I don't know if I'm supposed to be announcing it, but I've already started. There's no going back. We're hosting a tarot event here in the community space. It will be in a private group, and you will be invited to that tarot event. If you are ready, it's a long list. If you are in Holistic Witchery, Tarot Throwdown, Enchanted Journey, or the Magical Self-Care Born Magic program, if you're in any of those, you will be invited to hang out with us in the tarot space for this event. So Anna will start getting you sorted out next week. But if you are not in any of those things and you want to join us in Tarot Throwdown, feel free to join us. You can find that at tarotthrowdown.com. And you will get our Tarot Throwdown class and also be invited to the tarot event. Speaking of sacred spaces and crystal grids and what stays and what goes, we will no longer have our Tarot Throwdown class open for registration in just a couple of weeks. And some of you heard that and just died inside. And oh, hey, Naomi. Naomi, am I supposed to be talking about this? Naomi is my right hand and Anna's my left hand. And Naomi's here. Hello, Naomi. Some of you might be dying inside hearing about that we're not going to offer tarot throwdown anymore. But here is the deal. We love tarot. It was my gateway to all things witchery 20 something years ago now. Yeah, do the math on that, like 23 years ago. And we are not going to stop teaching it. We teach it in holistic witchery, so it's not going away. And though, as we look at the Sisters Enchanted as a sacred space, and we look at our calendars as sacred space, thing is that tarot throwdown by itself, we don't just teach tarot. We teach holistic witchery, and we teach this beautiful blend of practical life and metaphysics together. And tarot throwdown really is a metaphysical program, which we love metaphysics, but we've got to make space for the things that serve our community in the best way that we're able to serve the community. And so that means a little course change there for that in the coming year. But for right now, if you wanted to get your hands on that, go ahead. Get your patootie in there. Yeah, Catherine, you have Tarot Throwdown. It's yours forever. We don't delete classes. We just don't have them open for registration anymore. So you should see our class site vault from the back end. No one wants to see that. We've been using the same software since 2017, and it is pages of stuff to scroll through. Pages, because you won't lose access to it. We just aren't going to have it available for registration anymore. And we still will teach tarot because we love tarot. I love tarot. It was, like I said, my gateway into all things witchery, and we will not stop teaching tarot. We're just not going to have Tarot Throwdown available anymore. So we are going to have a cool tarot event for you as well. Athena, great question. I see some questions coming in. Is this going to be during astrology after? It's going to be right after astrology fundamentals. So those of you in holistic witchery, it fills a sweet spot wherein we didn't have a class portion going live in August or September. So this will give you something to do while we wait. And I saw Beth asking about the Norse mythology class. That's a great question, Beth. The Norse mythology class currently is hanging in a liminal space of non-commitment. So thank you for asking that. We will certainly be addressing some of these things. We have so many cool classes sitting on the sidelines. We have a tarot coach program to teach tarot readers how to use like life coaching strategies with tarot cards to differentiate you from tarot readers where people might come just looking for like yes, no answers. And why doesn't my husband treat me this way? And when is my girlfriend going to propose? And blah, 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 all the questions you don't want to answer. So we've got so many cool programs here, and we're doing the same thing that I say about your calendar, which is to treat it as a sacred space. We're treating our time in the Sisters Enchanted as a sacred space and trying to be very intentional about what little crystals we put down in our crystal grid, because our main motivation here is to help women feel like they were born magic, to help women create spiritual practices that feel fulfilling and help them dance on the grave of the fucking expectations that make life feel so heavy. Nobody needs that. And we want you to feel empowered to create a spiritual practice that works for you, regardless of your religious background, whatever your religious belief system is. We want you to feel empowered to have a spiritual practice that feels meaningful. We want that for you. We want you to feel like you have self-trust and confidence and intuition. And we want you to live your life like the magical being you were born to be, without all this nonsense from society and other people swirling through your mind, making you feel like you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not this enough, you're not magical enough, you can't do it right, you never finish anything, you procrastinate too much. Get rid of all that noise. That's what we are here for. We are here for all of that. And so as we think about all of the things we offer, we put that little filter in front. And then as we push classes through, do they align with that filter? Yes or no? That's the question we ask ourselves right now, because we've had like 5,000 to 6,000 people register for Tarot Throwdown in particular. And when I ask myself, do those people take Tarot Throwdown and then feel like they can cast out the noise of others and stand in their light as the beacon for the life they want to be living and change the energy of the world around them just by being in their own magic. If I ask myself that question about Tarot Throwdown, I can't necessarily say yes. And it doesn't mean Tarot Throwdown is not a good program. I think it's the best way to learn tarot. But does it fit that litmus test? It doesn't, right? And just like I look at my calendar, there's 100 things I want to be doing. I would love to sign up for a tap dancing class and like maybe take an art class and a quilting. Like I'd love to do all of this, but does it fit on my calendar right now and get me where I want to go? No. And so I got to be selective about what I commit to. And so we got to do the same thing here. We're here for you. We've been doing this 8 years. We're going to be here 8 years from now, hopefully 8 years after that. And we want to make this the best ride for everybody possible. And that's what we are going to do. And in the meantime, we are going to bring tarot to you in a really fun way in August. So hold on to your hats for that. You'll be getting more information in the coming weeks. And I'm excited to get it to you. All right. Thank you for listening to my side rails there. But I'm walking the talk. I bring here to you the Sunday Coffee Chat to get thy life on thy calendar. Make some fucking magic. Let's go. Let's do this. Be the beacon. And I do the same thing in my own life every day, even when it's hard. Even when it's hard, I do it. And so I'm here for you. I'm holding the space for you. We can do it together. Nobody has to be alone ever. All right. So everyone, let's all sign up for dance classes and let's win the rest of this year. All right, everybody. I'm going to leave it at that. And otherwise, I think that is it for now. So go ahead and have a great day ahead. And I'll see you all around the community group. You know where to find us if you need anything. And I hope you have a great Sunday. All right. Bye, everyone. If you love the podcast, be sure to leave us a rating or a review. That helps us to get the word out about all we're doing here at the Sisters Enchanted. Thanks for being part of our community, and we'll see you in the next episode.